Picture this. You stand up after a long flight, and your knee gives that familiar sharp ache, or you roll out of bed in the morning, and your hip just feels like it's completely locked in place.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there. It's that stiffness that just makes you instantly wince.
Right. And instantly, you picture your cartilage just grinding down to nothing. We completely obsess over protecting or rebuilding this one single piece of tissue,
Yeah, treating it like it's literally the only thing standing between us and total immobility.
Exactly. I mean, we act as if joint health is purely a matter of structural decay. But based on the sources we're looking at today, we've been staring at the entirely wrong part of the machinery this whole time.
We really have. We get hyper-focused on the structural damage of the cartilage itself, and we completely ignore the complex environment that the structure actually lives in.
And that is exactly the mission of today's deep dive. We are taking a stack of new research, along with the design methodology behind a product called BIODYNAMIX, to completely shift your perspective.
Right, because it's about so much more than just the bone and cartilage.
Yep, we are moving away from the obsession over a single piece of tissue to help you understand the entire dynamic ecosystem of your joints.
And to help visualize this, we have set up the digital backdrop behind us today to reflect this specific shift in scientific thinking. So right now, it looks like a traditional blueprint.
Very rigid, right? Like just bones and cartilage.
Exactly. It looks like a schematic for an inert machine. But as we get deeper into the sources today, you will see this backdrop slowly transform. It's going to shift from a static blueprint into an interconnected, flowing, dynamic ecosystem.
Which is super cool to look at. And that visual transition mirrors exactly what is happening in modern biological research right now.
It really does. It's a total paradigm shift.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the source material uses a really powerful analogy to highlight the fundamental flaw in how we currently treat our joints.
The car analogy, right? I love this one.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It argues that focusing solely on cartilage is basically like driving a car with brand new tires, but absolutely zero engine oil.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, modern science is rapidly shifting away from viewing cartilage as the sole determinant of whether a joint is healthy or failing.
Because for decades, the medical and supplemental focus was entirely structural.
Right, entirely structural. But now researchers look at the whole neighborhood. That includes the cartilage, sure, but it also includes the synovial membrane, the ligaments, the tendons, and even the surrounding muscles.
Wait, let me push back on that car analogy for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
If the cartilage is acting like the tires, providing a smooth surface and absorbing the shock of the road, well, tires eventually wear bald no matter how much engine oil you put in the car.
That's true for a car, yes.
Right, because physics dictates that friction eventually destroys everything. So are we saying that if this biological engine oil is functioning perfectly, the cartilage just never wears down?
Well, that is precisely where the mechanical car analogy breaks down and the biological reality takes over. Unlike a rubber tire, cartilage is living tissue.
Oh, right. It's not just a dead piece of rubber.
Exactly. It has the capacity to maintain and repair itself, but only if the surrounding ecosystem supports it. Those other parts I mentioned, they aren't just structural scaffolding.
Like the muscles and ligaments.
Right. The surrounding muscles act as active shock absorbers. They take the brunt of the kinetic energy before it even reaches the joint capsule.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the ligaments dictate the geometric alignment, so the pressure is distributed evenly across the surface. And then there's the synovial membrane.
The synovial membrane, that's the delicate tissue lining the inside of the capsule, right?
Yep. And it is the actual manufacturing plant that produces the fluid, keeping the whole system alive.
So the cartilage isn't just an inert piece of plastic wearing away. It's an active participant in an environment, which naturally brings us to the fluid itself, the synovial fluid.
The unsung hero of the joint?
Totally. And I want to drill into what was, hands down, the biggest aha moment for me in these sources. The text explicitly points out that cartilage has absolutely no direct blood supply. Zero.
I know. It is a fascinating evolutionary adaptation that often really surprises people.
It seems like a terrible adaptation.
It does seem counterintuitive at first.
Right. Because if a tissue inside the human body doesn't have a vascular network pumping blood into it, how does it get oxygen? How does it clear out cellular waste?
You'd think it would just starve.
Exactly. It seems like a bloodless tissue should just immediately die.
Well, think about the sheer physical force placed on your knees when you say, jump off a step, or even just walk down a steep flight of stairs.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
A massive amount. You are multiplying your body weight into massive compressive force.
Wow.
If you had a network of delicate blood vessels running through the cartilage matrix, they would rupture instantly under that load.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you would literally be internally bleeding into your joints with every single step you took. Nature had to remove the vascular system entirely to allow the tissue to withstand that kind of massive mechanical stress.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense mechanically. But the cells still need to eat. I mean, if there is no blood, something has to be delivering the food. The synovial fluid has to be doing the heavy lifting of a vascular system, right?
That's exactly it. The synovial fluid is the literal lifeline. Because there is no blood flow to the cartilage, the synovial membrane has to filter your blood plasma.
Wait, it filters your blood.
Yeah, it extracts the necessary nutrients from the plasma and secretes them into the joint capsule within this fluid. The synovial fluid then surrounds the cartilage, delivering those nutrients directly to the cells.
And I'm guessing it acts as the garbage truck, too?
Exactly. It acts as the vehicle to carry away their metabolic waste.
Man, that is so efficient. But if this fluid is carrying delicate nutrients and acting as a shock absorber, it can't just be thin like water.
No, definitely not.
Because, I mean, if you put a layer of water between two massive bones and then stand up, the water's going to instantly compress. It would squish right out of the gap under the weight of a human body.
It would offer zero protection.
Right. It needs a specific heavy texture to actually maintain a physical barrier between the bones.
And the viscosity of that fluid is entirely dependent on a complex biological compound called hyaluronan, or hyaluronic acid.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you usually hear about hyaluronic acid in, like, expensive skincare serums designed to plump up the face.
Right, the beauty industry loves it.
But inside your joints, it is functioning like pectin in homemade jelly.
That's a great way to picture it.
Yeah, like if you just have fruit juice, it's thin and runs right off the spoon. The moment you add pectin, it binds the liquid together into a cohesive, thick gel. Hyaluronan is basically the body's pectin.
It really is.
It transforms this ordinary watery fluid into a specialized, heavy-duty lubricant that can actually resist the compression of you just, walking around.
And that molecular transformation is what makes the joint functional at all. Hyaluronan is a massive molecule that acts like a microscopic sponge.
Like sponge, okay.
Yeah, it binds heavily to water molecules, physically trapping them within its structure. So when you apply pressure to the joint, this hyaluronan water matrix resists being squeezed flat.
It pushes back against the weight.
Exactly. It maintains a distinct physical gap between the bones, allowing them to glide over each other with near zero friction. It behaves like a non-Newtonian fluid.
Oh, like that stuff you make in grade school with cornstarch and water.
Yes, exactly like that. It absorbs sudden impacts dynamically. It gets firmer when force is applied.
But as with everything in the human body, there is an inevitable biological drop-off.
A significant one, unfortunately. What's fascinating here is that as you age, the fibroblasts within your synovial membrane become less efficient.
The fibroblasts being the cells making the fluid.
Right. Their ability to produce high-quality, high-molecular weight hyaluronan just diminishes over time.
So they get worse at their jobs.
Basically, yeah. The molecules they produce become shorter, less complex, and frankly far less capable of trapping water.
So going back to the analogy, the pectin breaks down, so the jelly turns back into juice.
That is a perfect way to summarize it. And this microscopic degradation is directly responsible for the macro-level symptoms you feel in your everyday life.
Like the morning stiffness.
Exactly. When the hyaluronan concentration drops, the fluid physically thins out, it loses its viscoelasticity. This is the mechanical root cause of that morning stiffness, the reduced flexibility, even just the effort it takes to stand up after sitting for an hour.
Because the cushion is gone.
Right. The shock absorption is compromised, the friction between the joint surfaces increases, and the bloodless cartilage is suddenly sitting in a nutrient-poor, high-impact environment.
Ouch. So what does this all mean? Can I just drink a gallon of water a day to keep my joints lubricated?
Yeah.
Because if the core problem is that our joint fluid is thinning out and losing its hydration, the immediate logical leap is to just drink more water.
It seems like the obvious fix, doesn't it?
Yeah. If my joint is dehydrated, I should be able to chug a gallon of water, rehydrate the fluid, and fix the friction problem.
Well, it is a pervasive myth, and the sources we are looking at make a very clear distinction here. Systemic hydration, drinking enough water daily, is absolutely foundational for your organ health and baseline cellular function.
You definitely still need to drink water.
Of course, but flooding your digestive system with water does not automatically mean that water reaches or, more importantly, stays inside your joint capsules.
Because the microscopic sponge is gone.
Precisely. Without sufficient hyaluronan acting as that biological scaffolding to grab and hold the water inside the synovial fluid, any extra water you consume will simply pass through your system.
It just flushes right out.
Exactly. The fluid inside the joint cannot maintain its protective cushioning properties based on pure water intake alone. You need the structural hyaluronan molecules to bind the water in place to create that gel.
This whole concept of a sponge brings up a mechanical problem that I was trying to work out while reading the sources.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we established that cartilage has no blood pump, no heart to push things around.
Right.
The synovial fluid have all the nutrients, but the fluid itself doesn't have a pump either. So if you just have a stagnant pool of thick jelly sitting around the cartilage, how do the nutrients actually penetrate the dense cartilage tissue? Does it just float in by osmosis?
Osmosis alone is far too slow to sustain the tissue. The delivery mechanism relies entirely on physical motion.
Motion. So it is literally a physical sponge pump.
Yes.
When you bend your knee, the mechanical force compresses the cartilage, you squeeze the old waste-filled fluid out of the tissue.
And then?
Then, when you straighten your leg and release that pressure, the cartilage expands and creates a vacuum that sucks fresh, nutrient-rich synovial fluid back into the cellular matrix.
You've got it perfectly. The source material highlights this as the fundamental engine of joint feeding. Gentle, rhythmic movement is the literal pump that circulates the synovial fluid.
That makes so much sense when you think about walking.
Right. When you look at the mechanics of a walking cycle, the heel strike compresses the joint, and then the toe off releases it. Activities like walking, cycling, swimming, or yoga constantly engage this mechanism.
Squeeze and release, squeeze and release.
Exactly. Without that physical action of bending and flexing, the nutrients basically just stagnate in the fluid, and the metabolic waste products build up toxically inside the cartilage.
Which means our natural instinct to just sit perfectly still when our joints ache is actively harming the tissue.
It is the worst thing you can do. Prolonged inactivity shuts down the biological pump. You are effectively starving the cartilage cells of their only food source while simultaneously allowing waste to pool around them.
Wow. Okay, knowing that our natural hyaluronan production drops as we age, thinning out the fluid, and knowing that we have to move to pump the nutrients, how are modern health strategies actually adapting to this?
Well, it requires a holistic approach.
Because movement alone obviously can't synthesize new hyaluronan molecules out of thin air.
Right. The sources outline a comprehensive lifestyle approach based on this ecosystem model. Because every part of the environment interacts, every physical input affects the joint.
It's all connected.
Exactly. It starts with weight management, which is a purely mechanical intervention. If your synovial fluid is thinning out and losing its shock-absorbing capacity, every additional pound of body weight exponentially increases the shear force on the cartilage during movement.
You are just crushing whatever thin fluid is left, making the friction worse.
Exactly. Then the focus shifts to nutrition. The synovial membrane requires specific raw materials to manufacture quality fluid.
Like what kind of materials?
The text points heavily to diets rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s actively help regulate and lower the inflammatory enzymes within the joint capsule.
And those enzymes are bad news, right?
Very bad news. They are the enzymes that actually degrade hyaluronan. Colorful vegetables provide antioxidants that protect the membrane's delicate cells from oxidative stress, and lean proteins supply the amino acids necessary for continuous tissue repair.
And that repair phase is heavily dependent on sleep, which the text emphasizes just as much as diet.
Sleep is critical. It is the only time the mechanical load on your joints is at absolute zero for an extended period.
Because you're lying down.
Right. The cartilage can fully expand, the sponge is completely uncompressed, and the synovial membrane can efficiently process the nutrients absorbed from your diet to repair the cellular damage incurred during the day's movement.
But, let's be real. Even with perfect sleep and a pristine diet, we still face that inevitable age-related decline in hyaluronan production.
We do. The biological clock still ticks for all of us.
Right. And this is where the source material introduces the evolving landscape of supplementation, specifically looking at the design methodology behind BIODYNAMIX Joint Genesis.
Yeah, it serves as an incredibly relevant case study in how the scientific understanding of the joint ecosystem is translating into modern consumer products.
Because historically, joint supplements have been completely obsessed with the structure, the cartilage itself.
Right, glucosamine, chondroitin, all of that.
Exactly. People have been taking glucosamine and chondroitin for decades, basically throwing building blocks at the wall and hoping they rebuild the tires. But biodynamics targets the fluid instead.
It shifts the focus entirely.
Yeah, it was formulated by doctors, utilizing research from major U.S. institutions to specifically target the body's natural production and maintenance of hyaluronan.
The strategic shift here is moving away from trying to artificially rebuild hard tissue and instead attempting to optimize the fluid environment that the tissue lives in.
Which makes a lot of sense based on what we've learned today.
It does. If the goal is restoring the viscosity of the synovial fluid, essentially putting the pectin back in the jelly, the supplementation strategy has to provide the specific biological precursors that the synovial membrane utilizes to synthesize hyaluronan naturally.
It is attempting to replenish the engine oil so the tires stop taking so much damage in the first place.
Exactly. Though we do need to pause here to ensure complete objectivity in our analysis.
Good point. Let's lay out the caveat.
Right. We are reporting on the scientific rationale and the specific design methodology behind biodynamics as it is presented in the source text. We are not endorsing the product, nor are we validating its clinical efficacy.
Just reporting the science from the sources.
Exactly. And the source material itself includes a critical, non-negotiable caveat. Dietary supplements are designed to complement a healthy lifestyle. They are never a replacement for proper nutrition, adequate exercise, and appropriate medical care.
So talk to your doctor, basically.
Yes. Anyone considering introducing a new supplement to their routine, especially if they have existing health conditions or take medications, must consult with their healthcare professional first.
Absolutely. And honestly, the ultimate takeaway isn't about a single product anyway. It is the underlying strategy that matters.
It's the big picture.
Yeah. We started this deep dive talking about that sharp morning knee ache and our immediate instinct to mourn our disappearing cartilage. But looking at the microscopic mechanics of the synovial membrane, the sponge effect of the tissue, and the intricate molecular structure of hyaluronan, the narrative is completely different.
It's totally flipped.
Right. Our joints are these intricate breathing ecosystems.
The cartilage is merely one resident in that ecosystem. The synovial fluid, the membrane that produces it, and the hyaluronan that gives it life are the active systems determining whether that resident thrives or degrades over time.
It fundamentally changes how you perceive your own body when you are just, walking down the street.
You're a walking ecosystem.
Totally. You aren't just grinding inert bones together. You are actively pumping nutrients through a specialized pressurized fluid matrix with every single step you take.
And this biomechanical reality leads to a rather provocative question to consider as we close today.
Oh, I like a good closing thought. Lay it on us.
Well, we detailed how the synovial fluid only circulates and only feeds the bloodless cartilage when the joint is in motion. The physical compression is the only way nutrients enter the cells.
Right, the mechanical sponge pump.
So think about the conventional wisdom for handling a minor ache or a twinge in your knee. The immediate, culturally ingrained response is usually total rest.
Yeah, put your feet up, don't move.
Exactly. We elevate the leg, we sit on the couch, we avoid all movement to protect the joint from further damage. But based on the actual fluid dynamics we just explored, could total prolonged inactivity actually be the worst possible response?
Because it stops the pump.
Right. By attempting to protect the structure through immobility, are we inadvertently starving the cartilage of the exact nutrients it desperately needs to execute the healing process?
Oh, wow. We are literally shutting off the food supply line while the tissue is trying to recover.
It's completely counterproductive to the biology.
It really is. It forces you to completely rethink the balance between resting an injury to protect it and moving to actively promote joint feeding.
It's a fine line to walk, literally.
That is wild to think about. So next time you feel that stiffness and consider spending the entire weekend immobilized on the couch, remember the ecosystem. Keep questioning the biological assumptions we take for granted. Keep moving gently to prime that pump and keep feeding those joints. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.